Like you noted, April Fool's Day, it was a joke that was taken too far. It was a joke of immense absurdity, profound absurdity. I've told people, and I'm saying it here, that we have never come this low. We have never seen an umpire play into or play the script of the executive so shamelessly. We have never seen, we've seen since 1999 several INEC chairmen. We've seen them criticized for less than proper conduct in electioneering. We have seen criticisms. You remember Maurice Iwu, and remember what the former president Umaya Adua said after he was sworn in, and that began the process of a review, an overhaul, if you like, of our Electoral Act. Yadua admitted that the election that got him to power was flawed. Now, very tragically, we have on our hands an electoral umpire that doesn't care about history. He doesn't care about the nuances and, if you like, permutations of the Nigerian electorate. He doesn't care about anything. All he cares about is what the APC wants him to do. Very sadly so. Before now, you would tell that clearly most INEC executives, most INEC umpires have been criticized post electoral larceny, post general elections, post assessed on the basis of a performance in elections. But very unfortunately, we have a man who says to us, I don't care what you think. He who pays the piper calls the tune, and who pays me is Mr. President, and the APC must call the tune. And he's doing that without scruples. He's doing that without decorum. He's doing that without decency. Because clearly, we know that Judge Amupitan is supposed to be a senior lawyer, so he understands the law. Now, when you deliberately squeeze, taint, and albeit surreptitiously ignore what you've been taught from elementary Nigerian legal system, we understand what the law says when it says that when a court orders that the status quo antebellum should be sustained, we know what it means. Every young lawyer knows that. And for a professor who has written books, for a professor who should know better, to hide behind one finger and misinterpret the law and proceed to, if you like, de-recognize the executives of the African Democratic Congress and do so unashamedly, do so without decency, then it gives us cause to worry. But I want to say clearly that the witch cried last night, the child dies this morning, and you make your conjectures. And what are the conjectures simply? Since this INEC came on board, since Joash Amupitan became the chairman, he has not hidden the fact that he has come to play a script. He has not hidden the fact that he wants to ensure that by hook or by crook, this presidency returns to power. And let me say, I think it was on this platform that I said that long ago, there's this cliche my friends and I would play with when we analyze the Nigerian electoral system. We root to the answer. Now, the INEC chairman has a script well authored. From the APC through the rogue Senate, superintended by rogue Senate President, citizen Obot Goswell Akpabio, and the manipulation of the Electoral Act, from the nuances that gave us the worst Electoral Act in our historicity, where, as it were, INEC can manipulate the whole process from start to the end, where, as it were, they can wake up any morning and throw us surprises because they have teleguided the process such that only the APC can meet most of the normatives, where, as it were, the law does not even recognize the fact that small parties should and must thrive. and where, as it were, they have gotten an umpire who must play their script completely, it's sad and saddening, it's sickening to see that Fool's Day action, the April 1st action of Joash Amupitan, to the extent that his misinterpretation of the position of a court led them to drop in the names of the ADC executives from the INEC portal. And I asked myself, who will benefit from a one-party state? Who? Who will benefit from an electoral process that's manipulated and machinated? Who? To what end is all this shenanigans? To what end? Because, Vic, as I talk to you, it does bother the carapace of my mind that those who pride in anti-dictatorship resume, those who say that, oh, we are pro-democrats, are the ones dealing, albeit fatally, with our democracy. They are the ones who have chosen to undermine everything that works for democracy. The plurality of choice, the right to dissent, the right to an effective and constructive opposition, the right to a credible opposition at the polls. They just don't want any opposition. They want more like in 2027 February, they want INEC to call Mr. President unopposed, and that will make them happy. And I ask myself, why have we lost every semblance of sanity? Why have we lost our sense of decency? And why have we even forgotten that the schoolboy defines democracy as a government of the people, for the people, and by the people? And those were the words that Abraham Lincoln etched on a collective canvas regarding democracy. And I remember that during the Second World War, Winston Churchill, in one major speech of his, said that Britain was getting into the war very effectively so because the government of the people, for the people, and by the people must not be allowed to die. Unfortunately, those who pride in pro-democracy credentials are those who have nailed democracy in Nigeria to the cross. They are the ones who are clearly determined to destroy democracy in Nigeria. But God is not mocked, Victor. The arm that runs the universe has not gone numb or limb. The universe that came out of primal vapor was machinated and manipulated by a supreme being, and that force is still alive. I think that that was what motivated my current series, Victor. And I said to Bart, you're eating up yourself. In endangering democracy, you're eating up yourself, because the truth is that whether true or false, Nigerians at some point have believed that you were truly a pro-democrat. But as it were today, you're the greatest individual threat, the greatest singular threat to democracy, and it's a tragedy of sorts.
Can you help us make sense out of what he did on that April day?
Interestingly, I'm a lawyer by training. And so many of my colleagues that went to law school with me, and very senior lawyers too, have come out to say that for the first time, it is surprising that the single cliché legal practice, status quo antebellum, that just about every lawyer understands, has been deliberately misinterpreted by a professor of law. And so it comes back to that same praxis. He who pays the piper calls the tune. They perhaps have written to him, and we had letters have been flying around between the APC and INEC. And so they've come up with a misinterpretation, a misdirection of a provision of the law. Everyone knows, I know, you know, the media knows. All the opposition political parties and the civil society knows that that interpretation and the steps taken by Amupitan, the INEC chairman, was wrong. you don't, what is status quo antebellum? The status of the matter before it came to court, the status that the parties had before the matter came to court. And what made the matter go to court? There was someone in position. David Mark's executive of the ADC was the status of the parties before they went to court. And so the simple interpretation was to say, recognize David Mark and his team until the substantive matter is determined in court. Simple. And to hide behind one finger, to want to be smart by half, by saying that the court order has made it impossible for him to recognize either the David Mark executive or the executive, alleged executive of a man who had resigned. Victor, that's how strange this whole spectacle is. We have all over the media copies of the resignation letter of the man that the INEC is siding with to drop the valid executives of ADC from his portal. He had resigned. He had said, I accept that our team should drop for the ADC to become the vehicle for a vibrant coalition. Now, because the APC is scared of every opposition, mark my choice of word, every opposition, the APC is not only scared of the ADC, the APC is scared of any gathering of Nigerians, mark my choice of words. Any movement that says no to Bola Ahmed Tinubu returning in 2027 is a threat to the APC. And you know why it is? Because this government has failed colossally. You know why it is? Because this government has underperformed humongously. You know why it is? Because this government is a woeful one. And I said this for 4 strong reasons, Victor. Why would the APC not be scared? This party has told us that since they removed fuel subsidy, that the government has made much more money and that the states are getting more money. Mark this. The same government that tells us that has borrowed more money than Buhari borrowed in 8 years, has borrowed more money than any federal government has borrowed since 1999. How do you reconcile this? And then when you ask yourself, what have they done with these monies? Victor, Nigerians are poorer today than they were 3 years ago. Victor, Nigerians traveled for Christmas 2 years ago, 3 years ago without sleeping on the highway. Yes, the highways were bad. But the government that tells us that is revamping our infrastructure had Nigerians sleeping for 2 nights on the roads during the last Yuletide. The roads are worse than they ever were. And then the new ones that they're telling us about, I don't know how far they've gone. Victor, that's how bad it is. And then we're talking about the government that surreptitiously, even the monies that they allegedly have made, they're putting through querulous and questionable contracts. Contracts that appear like it's Nigeria for sale, with the president being the seller, the Senate and citizen Goswell Akpabio being the auctioneer. And who are the buyers? Mr. President through his friends, the Chaguris. That's where that same humongous money is going. And you ask yourself, for what? Perhaps because they know that having failed, they will have to pay so much to buy the next election. I just don't understand. That's how bad it is. And then you ask yourself, what have they done with Medicare? Nigeria today has the worst life expectancy bracket in the world. That's how bad it is. Victor, in the past 48 hours, I've lost 3 friends. So I want to ask those who think that we're crying foul, those who think that we're crying blue mother, to engage us on issues, not on propaganda, to engage us on fundamental issues of state. Because I want to say here again that because they know that they cannot win a free and fair election, they brought in Amupitan to rig the process, and he has begun the process from the start. But I tell you, Victor, we will not watch it happen. Like we fought the military, like we fought IBB, we fought Abacha, and we insisted that Absalam does not stay in power for long. We will fight this presidency. We will defend our democracy. We will fight for the plurality of choice. We will fight for true democracy in Nigeria, and we will not cower. Those who think that we will cower are dreamers. We're veterans in honorary suffering. We're veterans in creative sufferings, and we know that it is redemptive. Victor, because what is life after all? They're pushing Nigeria to a tipping edge, and Nigerians will fight back sooner rather than later.
All right, we will say that INEC is committing electoral sabotage, given that, one, there are clear-cut electoral timelines and processes, and given what INEC had done, freezing out ADC, it becomes practically impossible or mathematically impossible to meet with the timelines. In plain language, do you think they are committing electoral sabotage?
No, that's what they're doing. I told you, it's rule to the answer. Electoral sabotage par excellence. That's what Amupitan is a hireling playing out the script of his masters. That's what he's doing. And he's doing it unashamedly. He's doing it soullessly. I have never seen a man so bereft of scruples, and I say that without fear of querulous critics. If he has any left in him, he should resign and go back home with some honor. If he has any left in him, he should resign, throw back this mess to the APC and tell them that he cannot manipulate the process any further. If he has any scruples in him, he should think about the future of his children and the name after now. That's actually my advice to him, because you see, this electoral sabotage will lead to no good. And I said this without doubts. Victor, the time has come, and we're saying this clearly to the APC and to the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. Open the jails. Open the prisons, because we're ready to come in there. We will not watch the manipulation or machination of the 2027 election. It won't happen. We are organizing. Victor, we're not agonizing no more. They have come clearly to tell us that if you don't know, we're rigging 2027. And we're saying that we know that you want to rig 2027, but we will not allow it. So it's going to be the meeting of two forces, Victor. And what do they have? The prisons, the jails, the police, the DMI, the DSS. That's what they have. So set them after us. That's what we're saying. Because we will not keep quiet. Victor, at 55, I have passed the life expectancy age in today's Nigeria. That's how bad it is. I see younger people die of heart attack. I see younger people die of stroke. Victor, and it's going to get worse if we don't do anything. So what must we do? Challenge this ogre, this man-eating ogre that has decided to destroy our country. Challenge this ogre that has decided to build debts for Nigerians in the future. Oh, you don't know how bad it is. Just a few days ago, the Senate, the rogue Senate, approved another $6 billion loan. I don't know what they want to do with Nigeria. Sell Nigeria off to themselves and their children? And you think we should be quiet?
It's alleged that Nyesom Wike destroyed the PDP from inside. The ADC crisis is destruction from outside, using INEC, and allegedly using INEC. And many Nigerians call it a mockery of democracy. What's your opinion on this?
You were being generous by using the word allegedly. It's a clear fact. And Wike is proudly doing that. He's happy, but of course you know he's soulless, so he'll be happy. he's lacking scruples, so he'll be happy. For the first time, we see a man who's shamelessly dancing naked in town square. You saw him the other day, threatening a broadcaster who's doing his job, that if he had his way, he would have shot him. Because we live in a country where the men who should pretend leadership have no morals, no conscience, no scruples, no integrity, and they're absolutely shameless and soulless. So for putting the facts before Nigerians, to Nyesom Wike, Seun Okinbaloye should be shot. For putting the facts before Nigerians, some of us who oppose this uneventful and underwhelming and underperforming presidency perhaps should also be shot. But let me say clearly, and that brings me back to the teeth of your question. I want to say again and again that the destruction of a PDP was a continuation of a series of actions that this presidency took when it came to power. They started first with Labour Party. You forgot? They took over surreptitiously the funding of Labour Party and started manipulating their Bure president, the chairmanship, and then using the plethora of court orders to mess the party up. And when P2B and some of us left the Labour Party, watch what happened. They let the Labour Party be. And that is why you have a Nanadi Usman now in charge of Labour Party, because they're done with messing up the party. If perhaps tomorrow morning, I'm telling you, we say, okay, let us return to the Labour Party, they will return with a crisis. That's the clear drama. Now you ask yourself, the PDP, every attempt to resurrect the PDP has been dealt with by the presidency through Nyesom Wike and in conspiration, in cahoots with the courts, the judiciary. That's what they've been doing. One court order after another, and now they have gone to hold a mockery of a national convention without the crux, the major stakeholders of the party. That's on the one hand. And now you want to ask, that's destruction from inside, clearly so, and manipulated, funded by the presidency. I don't know whether you heard that they have a special fund in the presidency that is called the obliteration of opposition funds. That they use the money to create crises in political parties. As I talk to you clearly, a man resigned from his position because, according to him, he felt that the ADC should serve as a veritable platform for the coalition. And a few weeks after his resignation, signed resignation, the APC doles out monies to him. Clearly so. Some allegedly said he was given 2 billion. And he suddenly wakes up and said, I did not leave. The papers are there. And no, I am not in support of the David Mark-led executive. And so in cahoots with INEC and the judiciary, the next direction is destroy the ADC so we do not have a credible opposition. But I tell you, unfortunately for the minders of this presidency and those who are playing the script, they have forgotten, and I said time without number, that the ideal opposition that Nigeria has today and that this government has been cutting, unfortunately for them, without caution, is the people. The real opposition today are the masses of our people on the streets, in the offices, in the federal secretariat, in the offices in Aso Rock. Nigerians are unhappy with the drama being played out by Mr. President, Nyesom Wike and his cohorts, the judiciary, and INEC. Nigerians are angry. Let them send out secret police to fill the pulse. Maybe that will teach them a lesson. Maybe then they will come to understand why my new series is so pungent. I am in the street. I hear people. I listen to them. And I know how angry, and perhaps that's why they have decided to make INEC the third leg in the effort to destroy our democracy. Because INEC has lost everything about the IND, independence. Now they are fully dependent not only on the presidency, the APC, and the minders of the presidency. And that's how sad it is. So, back to that question, clearly, Nwike was procured to destroy the APC, to destroy the PDP, and that's what he's doing. Amupitan was brought into INEC to destroy every sense of credibility of the electoral process, and that's what he's doing. And the end result of all this is to rig-in the president come 2027. But Nigerians will not allow it. You see, let me say this, Victor, the power of the people has always been in history mightier than the power of those in power.